Every other influencer has been force-feeding us protein for the past few years, but have you ever considered not doing that? And furthermore, have you considered doing the opposite? Today's rabbit hole is brought to you by a viewer called Just Jamie, who sent me a video by a channel called Barbara Unfiltered, and I'm just gonna give you the exact same first impression I got.
I'm coming to you from my kitchen because I want to show you some of the random things I've been eating on the sugar diet. I just ate 2 bananas and I put a bunch of salt on it. Peaches in syrup, sliced pineapple, mango kiwi smoothie. I chugged some in the car on the way home, a carton of juice. I do eat candy, so I'm going to show you my candy. Star Mix, peaches, Maynard peaches, Sour Patch Kids, Maynard's Swedish berries, marshmallows here. I love marshmallow things. When I do eat chicken or some lean protein and veggies on this diet, afterwards, I don't need to eat. Like I'm stuffed, like my whole body is like full. My glycogen stores are full of sugar from the day. So I don't actually like crave candy at night anymore. I was losing really, really quickly, and I only have about 10 pounds to lose, as I shared. And I'm also still breastfeeding. Yeah, so today is the first day that I'm doing a full sugar fast. Look at this.
I was intrigued by this sugar diet, but I wasn't fully convinced I wanted to do a deeper exploration myself until another channel I've been following also decided they wanted to try the sugar diet. Ironically, a channel called Loving It on Keto. I guess they weren't really loving it after all. Wendy and Harry are a fascinating couple. I wouldn't say anyone should follow their advice or that they're particularly well informed, but I do have fun watching them, and I do appreciate that they are data people. They're willing to report back about weight, lab results, and probably much more information than strangers on the internet should have. And as their channel title suggests, they have been doing keto for quite a few years and seemingly have had a lot of success doing that, specifically weight loss. But their weight loss apparently stalled, and they suspected the sugar diet was like a jump start to get them back on track.
Well, everybody, you heard us right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, all you new folks, and welcome back, everybody, to Loving It on Keto. And there is so much craziness regarding the sugar fast and the sugar diet that I have been looking into it. I have been reading. I have gone back to my vegan days with all my books. As our longtime viewers have seen, over the past couple of years, basically since COVID, we have gradually gained our weight back, no matter what we did, no matter what protocol we did. And some of the high-fat, high-protein stuff that we did made me very queasy and actually had me not lose any weight or gain some weight. And like I said, Harry and I used to be vegan. We were vegan for 6 years. Right. Whole food, plant-based diet, McDougall, Esselstyn, all of those folks. Yep. So we looked into the ketogenic sphere and we jumped into that, and that's where we have been.
For another 6 years.
6 years. It's been 6 years. And I have been having issues with my health. We want to do this because we're coming from a really keto lifestyle where we did not go off or flex at all. We really did not. And when we got to have the fruit again and the vegetables again, and our body weight started to move downward, even through all of the stuff I've gone through, I was able to lose 8 pounds so far. Harry lost 8 pounds as well.
After I watched those two channels talk about the sugar diet, more and more channels kept popping up. Every day my YouTube algorithm tries me. It became clear to me that this was an actual trend, like the latest in a long line of fad diets. And if you're familiar with my channel, you probably know where this is going. I looked at all of that and said, of course, I'm going to have to try this. In the past, I have done a week of keto and attempted a week of carnivore, so now I'd be doing a week of the sugar diet. And of course I need to mention, I am in no way any kind of healthcare professional. I would not advise you to try this yourself. I'm simply carrying on the Ono Ross and Carey legacy of showing up so you don't have to. And while I'm not the picture of health and fitness, shocker, I know, I am in decent health and I know my limits. If at any point I felt like I needed to stop, I would have. And in my opinion, a week is a decent enough time to get a grasp on something without putting myself in danger, if any. I decided to approach the sugar diet a little differently than I did keto and carnivore. I didn't know too much about the proposed health benefits or risks or any of the research behind it, so I purposefully didn't look into any of that before I started. I tried to find videos that told me how to do the sugar diet, but not necessarily why. I am science-driven and I tend to follow wherever the evidence leads me, so I didn't want to color my experience with any more bias than I already had going in. Obviously, I learned from the videos I already watched that people were doing this for weight loss. That's what most fad diets are for. But then a lot of fad diets will pack on a bunch of other proposed health benefits on top of that, so we'll get into more of that later. Grocery haul, or sugar haul as the case may be. You can't quite see everything in this shot. There's more up front that you can't see this angle. I'll probably show you in a second. I feel like this is gonna be like my staple. It usually takes me quite some time to get through a watermelon on my own. We'll see. I feel like this is gonna be the thing I eat most often. I got, you know, bananas, mangoes, peaches. The good thing about the sugar diet that I've seen so far is that you can eat lean protein like at the end of your day. So I do have like some tuna packets, some like lean turkey. I don't know if you can see. I usually don't get it that lean, but I'm trying to avoid as much fat as possible. Another thing I got is sodies, because apparently that's okay too. I gotta get my caffeine somewhere. I don't know what it is about all these diets. They always love to mess with my coffee, and I'm sick of it. But the creamer that I usually use, there's like 1 gram of fat, and I think no protein, so I'll probably just use a little bit of creamer and then supplement that with just plain sugar. There's some stuff that I don't have pictured on my table. I got some potatoes, I have rice, I have shrimp in my freezer, I have chicken in my freezer. I'm probably just gonna do that thing where you just eat lean protein and like starchy vegetables at the end of the day. I think that's the thing I've seen most often. But yeah, here's my sugar haul. If I'm being real, I thought this one would actually be pretty easy. I've mentioned several times that I have a bit of an issue with processed sugar overconsumption, and quite often my breakfast and lunch does consist mostly of fruit anyway. But in spite of all of that, there were a few things about this diet that would prove to be challenging. So it has been one full day since I started the sugar diet. It's actually the morning after the first day. I kind of wanted to wait a little while to kind of report back. Feeling mostly fine. I honestly was surprised at how not hungry I was yesterday. Now, this diet, as with all of the diets I've tried so far, says don't track calories. Specifically, don't look at calories, don't track calories, don't worry about calories. I've been tracking calories for almost 3 years, I think. So I'm continuing to do that just out of habit and like to collect data for this little experiment. I think I ate like 1,400 calories yesterday, which is low, but not like incredibly low for me and my needs. But yeah, I honestly didn't really feel very hungry. I mostly ate fruit, and I feel like the water and the fiber probably kept me full. I weighed myself and I lost like 2 pounds overnight, which I assume, well, I was gonna say maybe water weight, but usually I feel like usually that coincides with like cutting out carbs, and yeah, I'm confused, but whatever. Normal fluctuations are also a thing. Long story short is, if I lose any weight during this week, it probably won't be very much because it's a week. And again, spoiler alert, it will probably be because I will be in a calorie deficit whether or not I'm trying to be. But also, I'm experiencing the very same thing I experienced doing carnivore, which is that it's been one day, and I'm already kind of sick of this. Like, I love sugar, I love fake sugar, I love, like, fruit sugar, I love carbs, but I'm already really feeling the absence of, like, cheese and avocados. So yeah, that's day one. Both Barbara Unfiltered and Wendy and Harry of Loving It on Keto recommended looking into Mark Bell, whose channel is Mark Smelly Bell, and Cole Robinson, whose channel is The Snake Diet. They seem to be the most prominent leaders of the current sugar diet movement, but a high-carb, low-fat diet really isn't anything new. Raw vegans and fruitarians have been around forever, lest we forget one of the original sugar diet influencers, Freely the Banana Girl.
So these pears, you know, I might eat about 10 to 15 in one meal. Yep. So per day I'm probably eating about 10 to 15. I might have about that in a week.
When you hear sugar diet, especially someone like me, It sounds too good to be true. It sounds like you can just eat as much sugar and carbs as you want. But I will say this particular sugar diet craze comes with a lot more restrictions than you'd think. I mostly leaned on Mark Bell's videos to help me structure my diet for the week. I tried to watch Cole Robinson, but let's just say his style is not for everyone.
Hey, fatty, I got a secret to tell you. It's absolutely impossible to not lose weight sugar fasting on pure sucrose-based sugar sources. Impossible!
Mark Bell and Barbara Unfiltered both recommended eating pretty much pure sugar for most of the day, and then at the end of the day you can have lean protein and starchy vegetables. And when I say pure sugar, I mean it. Fruit, fruit juice, honey, table sugar, even candy is acceptable on this diet. The most important rule is that you eat as close to zero fat as possible.
Start your day with a sugar bomb. What does that mean? Just eat right away when you wake up and eat your fruit, eat your canned fruit, drink your juice, whatever it is that you want to eat. Make sure that it's enough. Eat to hunger throughout the day. Do not calorie restrict or calorie count. Eat to hunger every time. If you want, you can allow some space between the last time you ate sugar and dinner time. 2 to 3 hours is optimal. Then eat your lean protein as much as you want and veggies as much as you want. Just make sure there is no fat in your food. Of course, make sure your sugar is always in the absence of fat. That's it. Enjoy and let me know if you try it and how much you love it.
Like, just hammer sugar. Now, what do I mean by sugar? Sugar in the context of literally straight table sugar is fine. You can throw some table sugar in some water if you want. You can drink some Gatorade. You can drink some pop here and there. Have at it, right? But for myself, what I'm choosing to eat more often is honey, table sugar, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, and so forth. So you do that all throughout the day, and then in the evening, you have basically 1, maybe 2-ish meals with a really lean source of protein. But if the protein gets too high and you're eating protein and fat during the day, you're not taking advantage of what this diet can truly do.
I don't think I need to tell most people that added sugar is not good for you, but in case you're here as a fan of the sugar diet, I should do my due diligence and back that up with some research. This Harvard article, The Sweet Danger of Sugar, creative, discusses how the real danger is added sugar, not natural sugar found in produce and dairy. The combination of sugar with fiber, protein, vitamins, and minerals allows your body to digest slowly and extract energy throughout the day, whereas processed refined sugar is basically just a hit of straight energy directly to the dome. In this article, Dr. Frank Hu, professor of nutrition at Harvard, says, quote, basically, the higher the intake of added sugar, the higher the risk for heart disease, end quote. He adds that your liver processes sugar the same way it processes alcohol. If you've ever heard of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, it's a condition that's directly correlated to things like poor diet and obesity. So, okay, added sugar, not the best for you. So clearly the solution to that would just be to get all of your sugar from fruit, right? It does seem the sugar diet influencers who are more focused on the health benefits will tell you to eat mostly fruit. And fruits are really good for you. How could that possibly be harmful? Well, as is the case with most things, the dose makes the poison. The Cleveland Clinic has a list of risks of a fruitarian diet, which includes diabetes, tooth decay, nutritional deficiencies, and surprisingly, weight gain. Yes, fruits are generally low calorie, but if you're eating like bunches of bananas every day, yeah, I'm sure you could put yourself into a calorie surplus. You can overeat any type of food. In my case, I was not at risk for that. Alright, it is the end of day 3. Update on the 2 pounds that I lost. They're back. Yesterday was so much more different, and I think it's just because I ate a lot more processed, refined sugar yesterday rather than just fruit. I was out running errands and I had already eaten all the fruit that I brought with me, and so I ended up eating some sweet tart ropes. It was the thing that I could find while I was out that was like 0 fat, 0 protein. Did I have to eat the whole package? No, but I did because I was hungry. I didn't feel great, to no one's surprise. But then when I got home, I finally made dinner and I felt just ravenously hungry. I ended up eating seconds of my dinner. I have a jar of blueberry preserves and I was just eating it out of the jar. I ate a bunch more watermelon, and then finally I was like, all right, I'm full. Today, I had a very long day at work, so I wasn't here with, any kind of food to tempt me. So yeah, I worked like 12 hours on nothing but fruit and coffee and a Mountain Dew. And everyone that I've seen, it's like, oh, you'll have so much energy, you'll have so much energy. That's a lie. Anyway, I'm about to make dinner, which I'm making the same thing I had yesterday, which is just ground turkey, rice, and like bell peppers, onion, corn. I forgot about corn yesterday. I'm going to add some corn today. And normally, like, that's something like I would eat on a regular basis, but I would probably put cheese and plain Greek yogurt in it and probably avocado, but can't have any of those things. Basically, I have a barbecue sauce that's been sustaining me. I am so glad I'm doing the version of this where you can still eat like protein at the end of your day and not the one where you like, I think they call it a sugar fast, where you eat nothing but sugar all day. Like, straight up, I eat ground turkey pretty often. It's not like my favorite thing in the world. It's fine. It's usually fine, especially when you mix it with other stuff. But just the smell of it when I was cooking like the pound of it, the smell of it was so good. I hadn't even seasoned it yet, and it just smelled so good, and it was like the best thing I'd ever eaten. Like, you spend your whole day eating nothing but carbs and sugar. Savory things are just the best thing in the world. Honestly, so far, I would say this is easier than carnivore, definitely. Kind of easier than keto, actually. I think I'm an equal proportion miserable as I was on keto, which wasn't like crazy, but like, at least with the sugar diet, I don't have to track anything. Like, I'm not tracking macros. I literally look at a label. I look for 0 protein, 0 fat, and you're pretty much good. Anyway, I am so looking forward to dinner. I really, really miss cheese. I admit I did do the easier version of this diet, which did allow for lean protein and vegetables at the end of the day. There is another version known as sugar fasting, which sounds like you're fasting from sugar, but it actually means you're fasting from anything but sugar. You can eat fruit, fruit juice, table sugar, honey, molasses, candy, whatever, as long as there is no fat or protein. For the sugar diet, it seems like you're basically doing the fast for the majority of the day, and then the difference is you get to have that lean protein and vegetables at the end of the day. Which, like I said, is something that I'd seen Mark Bell and Barbara Unfiltered advocate for. This seems to be the most popular version of the diet. Good old Wendy and Harry, I don't know, just kind of made up their own version of this protocol. That's what they call their various diets that they try, protocols. They alternated the regular sugar diet and sugar fasting and a couple of other things throughout the week. They listed out the protocol in the description of one of their videos, and it was overwhelming just to look at it. Their original plan was like 40 days, but they didn't make it that long. We'll talk more about that later. I almost considered doing their protocol, but honestly, I haven't really seen anyone else doing that, so I didn't think it would be very authentic to the trend. I'm very grateful I did the easier version, the sugar diet, rather than the sugar fast, because I don't think I would have lasted very long. And quite honestly, even incorporating lean protein at the end of my day didn't stop the inevitable side effects. Hello again. It is day 5. I don't think I reported back anything yesterday. I just didn't really have anything to say. I will say I've noticed that my guts are a little, I don't know, just off. Like, I feel bloated most of the time, and it's probably just because of all the water and the fiber and whatnot. I think the first day I was in a pretty decent calorie deficit. Second day I was probably at maintenance because I just got super hungry all of a sudden. Yeah, the past couple days and today, it's that same thing I felt when I was doing carnivore, which was like, I look at my options of what I'm allowed to eat and I just don't feel like it. I really high-key look forward to dinner every day because I know I'm going to get to eat protein, like something savory and not sugar. I'm so sick of sugar. And some of that's on me. Like, I probably could get more creative and think of something, like dream up some weird concoction that would be a little different and not just fruit every day. But like, I don't know, I work a lot, I'm busy, I don't have time and mental bandwidth to add that on top of everything else I do, I decided to keep it as simple as possible because most of the people doing these diets emphasize that anyway. Like when you're first starting out, just keep it simple. Like, you know, eat your fruits and supplement with like gummies and whatnot, which I have been. My heartburn has also been pretty bad. I think that's because I've been drinking more soda than I usually would. But yeah, I don't feel great. I'm really looking forward to dinner today. I'm having potatoes and like a ham sandwich that I really wish I could put cheese on. The heartburn, bloating, and upset stomach remained with me for the rest of the week. If you're looking to do this to lose weight, and don't, you probably won't even notice a visible difference at first. I tend to carry extra weight in my stomach, and because I was so bloated, I actually looked bigger even though I was consuming fewer calories than normal, and the scale was going down. Regarding the heartburn, I didn't feel it like every hour of every day, but it was often. And even when I didn't have heartburn, I still had just like a vague acidic feeling in my stomach and in my throat. To be fair, I was also drinking a lot more soda than I'm used to. I usually have like 1, maybe 2 sodas a week, and I was having one almost every day. That is a lot more carbonation and acid than I'm used to. But it's all carbs, so it's healthy, right? If you watch sugar diet influencers, they always emphasize the key to this diet is the extremely low fat content. They claim sugar, even added sugar in the form of candy or soda, is really only harmful to you if you eat it with fat. Otherwise, it's perfectly fine.
Just make sure there is no fat in your food. Of course, make sure your sugar is always in the absence of fat.
And I'm going to say something right here is I do not believe, just like every other diet, you don't have to be all organic, but if you're going to eat candy, be mindful of the amount of candy. Read the ingredients on the back and make sure the ingredients fit for you. No fat, no protein.
But there are 2 problems with that. Firstly, added sugar is added sugar. Gummy worms are not good for you or better for you than cake just because they're fat-free. They might be lower calorie per serving because fat is very calorie dense, but low calorie does not equal healthy. Secondly, there are unhealthy fats, but fat is still an essential nutrient. We need it to live. Foods like nuts and avocados and salmon are fatty, but those fats are really good for you. This Healthline article lists vitamin absorption, cell growth, brain health, eye health, wound healing, hormone production, and of course, energy as functions of dietary fat. The sugar diet demonizes fat and, to some extent, protein for several reasons. The first being that too much fat and protein can inhibit weight loss. They say the sugar diet actually boosts your metabolism.
It's very low fat and low in protein as well. There's a whole lot of reasons why that might be. FGF21 is supposedly at the helm, kind of running the show and helping the body to rev up the metabolism. You can Google that, you can look it up, you can find some YouTube videos on it. But what's interesting again about the sugar diet, what makes it different is it's hard to look up shit on the sugar diet.
And at first glance, there does seem to be some evidence behind that. There is a very recent study from March 2025 in Nature Metabolism called Dietary Protein Restriction Elevates FGF21 Levels and Energy Requirements to Maintain Body Weight in Lean Men. In this study, the researchers restricted the subject's protein levels and replaced that protein with carbs, which in turn raised their FGF21 levels. FGF21 stands for fibroblast growth factor 21, and it's a hormone that's produced in the liver and it helps regulate glucose. Basically, what this study found was that when the participants restricted their protein intake to the minimum requirement for their bodies and replaced that protein with carbs, their FGF21 levels raised, and therefore, their metabolisms increased. So they required more calories to maintain their weight. FGF21 is another buzzword you'll hear from sugar diet proponents, and I'm fairly confident this is the study they're leaning on to make their boosting metabolism claims. That sounds great, right? If you can increase your metabolic rate, that would make it theoretically easier to lose weight. More FGF21 means your calorie maintenance is higher, and it's all because you're eating high carb, low protein, low fat, right? Wrong. This study found that the participants experienced the same increase in FGF21 whether their protein was replaced with carbs or fats. The way this works is by reducing the percentage of protein in your diet. Full stop. Well, at least according to this study. We should also take into account that this study was limited to lean, fit men specifically, and the sample sizes were incredibly small. There were actually 3 iterations of this experiment, with 8 participants in the first 2 and 7 in the last, so take that for what you will. But even if it is the case that FGF21 elevation does make it easier to lose weight, that doesn't mean it's necessarily desirable. You do need to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight, but that isn't the only factor. A lot of dietitians and nutritionists actually recommend increasing protein intake because it can make you feel fuller, and it can also help you maintain muscle while you're losing fat. Something sugar diet proponents often don't discuss is how they know whether they're losing fat or losing muscle. The bits of Cole Robinson's channel that I've been able to endure have said that this diet will make you ripped and shredded.
Sugar fasting gets you shredded!
And I just don't think that's the case. He's started the sugar diet already fit and muscular. If he lost some weight in the short term, whether fat or muscle, you might not even notice the difference. Same for Mark Bell, he's already very muscular. And not to mention, he includes something else in his routine.
Keep in mind, I don't really care that much if I lose muscle, but I don't want to lose muscle. Also keep in mind, I utilize performance enhancing drugs.
I think this FGF21 study has been cherry-picked to make the sugar diet sound healthy when it just isn't. I should also mention that the participants in these studies were not replacing protein with things like Sour Patch Kids and marshmallows. Their carbs came in the form of bread, pasta, rice, and fruit. And those foods have other nutrients like vitamins and fiber and, yes, a little bit of protein. I have seen sugar diet proponents who were fine with things like rice and pasta, but people doing the sugar fast might actually avoid those because of the low amount of protein.
And this is my breakfast. It was actually my breakfast yesterday, but it's Instagram, so you just pretend that it was today. But anyway, I had some Sour Patch Kids. I ate 10 or 20 of them, and I ate a couple handfuls of these Starburst jelly beans. I also had 8 ounces of apple juice before my workout. Now keep in mind, I like to work out often, but those workouts feel easier. They feel a little bit better to me.
He does work out a lot. His body requires a lot more calories than someone like me. If he were only eating fruit all day, chances are he'd be, well, hungry, firstly, but also he'd be losing weight extremely rapidly. So of course, he has to eat things like candy to boost his calories quickly. I believe his goal is to get leaner, and I'm sure that's happening, but at what cost? Hello again, it is the end of day 6, and I have to confess, I did break the rules today. I had 3 Chips Ahoy cookies, because they were on sale and they were screaming at me. Yet shockingly, in spite of all of the sugar I've been eating, I still had a craving for them. Honestly, I think the craving is more for, fat and not sugar, because after the 3, I was kind of done, and normally I can't keep that kind of thing in my house because I will just eat the entire package. So anyway, that added an extra, 10 grams of fat, I think, which feels pretty negligible because, I've been on track, so to speak, for the rest of the week. One slip up, I don't think it'll be a problem for me to just hop back on the train, keep going. It's one more day. I can do one more day. So we've talked about some of the risks, but surely there have to be some benefits, right? Otherwise, no one would be doing this. People claim this diet not only helps them lose weight, but they also feel better. They have more energy, and even their chronic illnesses improve. One of the more concerning benefits that I heard Wendy and Harry mention, and I think probably Mark Bell too, is that the sugar diet can reverse diabetes.
The sugar diet, people may not realize this, but there's been people who've been studying this for a long time using unconventional ways to heal people from things like diabetes. The rice diet, I think, was even done maybe back in the 50s or something like that to help with people for diabetes. There's a couple other diets have expanded off of that, and it's very low fat.
Well, Dr. Kempner, Walter Kempner, healed diseases, including diabetes, when there was no medication in the 1930s with the rice diet. And the rice diet was simply white rice, fruits, fruit juice, and white table sugar to bring up the caloric intake for folks. Sugar in the absence of fat, that's the key.
Anyone familiar with diabetes probably just did a double take because this is literally a sugar-based diet. Typically, people with diabetes have to be careful with carb intake because it can spike their blood sugar. So what's the reasoning behind this claim? Most often, the people who say this are referencing Dr. Walter Kempner's rice diet. Dr. Kempner was a physician out of the Duke School of Medicine, and he developed the rice diet in 1939 as a way to treat not diabetes, but severe high blood pressure. The diet consisted of mostly rice and fruit with some vitamin supplementation. And in a lot of cases, it worked. In those days, blood pressure medication didn't exist yet, so this diet was a promising treatment. And they later found it did seem to improve not just high blood pressure, but also diabetes and obesity as well. But there are a lot of nuances to consider. Firstly, it seems the diet worked largely because of what it took away rather than what it added. The rice diet was extremely low sodium, which reduced the strain on the patient's kidneys and allowed them to repair. For those who were extremely hypertensive and going through kidney failure, this did seem to work quite well. Secondly, of course, the obese patients lost weight. I mean, as I'm sure you've seen from my little daily updates so far, you can only eat so much fruit before you're sick of it. But not only that, Dr. Kempner's program purposefully gave obese patients 800 to 1,000 calories a day. It wasn't just the carbs and sugar that caused the weight loss, it was the calorie deficit. Even if they didn't experience that FGF21 metabolism boost, any obese adult would lose weight eating 800 to 1,000 calories a day. I just find it fascinating that so many people doing the sugar diet point to the rice diet as evidence when it really could only be advised to people who were severely hypertensive and as a last resort at a time where there was no blood pressure medication. It's also interesting to me how Kempner seemed to shift his focus away from hypertension and towards obesity and diabetes, especially after blood pressure medication was discovered. He even opened a reducing center, which was basically a weight loss boot camp. It was called the Rice House, and several celebrities even went there during its heyday. And in case you needed a mental picture of a 1950s diet content house featuring movie star Shelley Winters and Bonanza's Lorne Green, even back then the rice diet was considered a fad. Any short-term diet or cleanse or whatever is gonna fail once you go back to your regular habits. Have I mentioned calories yet? But there were a lot of people, Kempner himself included, who advocated the rice diet as a lifestyle, not just a short-term solution. And I'm sure people lost weight treating it that way, but was it worth it? This Duke Chronicle article details how some people who went on the rice diet developed nutrient deficiencies and such severe electrolyte imbalance they had to be hospitalized. I have to wonder if anyone doing the current sugar diet trend has experienced those same consequences. It's hard for me to imagine no one has. I know for a fact that it didn't work out for some people. Wendy and Harry, for example. Turns out they do love it on keto after all.
And we posted day before yesterday why we quit the sugar fast and the sugar diet. And it was because Harry's triglycerides went through the roof. I'm talking on another planet to the tune of 726 points on his triglycerides. From 33 days prior test, just 33 short days, his triglycerides were 153. When we got the blood work up, we stopped. We put a slam screech halt on our sugar fast and all the sugar.
Triglycerides are a type of fat in your blood that you do need, obviously within a certain range. But from what I've read, it seems high triglycerides are typically associated with high-fat foods. So how could a diet almost devoid of fats cause high triglycerides? Well, because sugar can also raise your triglycerides. You don't need fat in your diet to create fat in your body. I mean, we've already talked about alcoholic and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It's a chemical process. There is a very dangerous misconception that a lot of sugar diet fans have, and people who still like the rice diet or its close cousin, the starch solution. They believe that fat in your diet is what causes fat accumulation in your body.
One of my most favorite mantras to give people is, the fat I eat is the fat I wear. See, the body does the most efficient thing possible with everything you give it. The body does the most efficient thing possible with fat. It just moves it. It moves it from the fork and spoon to your abdominal fat stores. From my lips to my hips, the fat I eat is the fat I wear. Why would it do anything else?
That clip I just showed is by the late Dr. John McDougall, a physician who promoted a high-carb, low-fat vegan diet referred to as the starch solution. A lot of fans of the sugar diet also reference him since his starch solution is a pretty similar concept. I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, solution to what? And the answer to that is pretty much everything. McDougall believed that humans were meant to mostly eat starch and only a little protein and basically no fat. His diet is basically a carnivore's worst enemy. But in my opinion, they're just two sides of the same coin, demonizing one macronutrient and praising another. Honestly, the current sugar diet, as crazy as it sounds, I think is more balanced than the rice diet or the starch solution or carnivore. At least you're still allowed to eat lean protein while doing the sugar diet. Now, sugar fast, however, I feel is even worse than all of those diets, especially because a lot of people are basically just chugging juice and microdosing Sour Patch Kids all day. Sure, you'll probably lose weight doing that, but there's nothing healthy about that weight loss. Well, folks, I made it. I did the full week of the sugar diet. I only had to slip up once with the cookies, and I only ate a few of those. Actually, I should talk about yesterday. Yesterday was my last day, and I was out a little longer than intended, and I felt myself fading fast, and so I did go through a drive-thru. I went to McDonald's and got a mango pineapple smoothie because they are fat-free, very low protein.
Girl, the boycott!
That's the first time in a long time I've been to McDonald's. I don't plan on going back anytime soon. But really, honestly, that was something I thought about while I was doing this. Like, how would you do this diet if you wanted to go out to eat? What else could you do besides a place that has like fat-free smoothies? So that's something to consider if you make the ill-advised decision to do this. Anyway, after that smoothie, I felt better, and then I rapidly felt worse. I just felt just nauseous, just sick. Like my stomach just felt gross. I don't know if it was just the massive hit of sugar, or I don't know. I don't even think I can blame McDonald's because it's just a smoothie. I think any other day I probably would have eaten that and felt fine. I don't know if there's something else in there, probably a lot of added sugar, but it didn't feel good. And I did weigh myself this morning, and I was down 3 pounds total from my starting weight. I started at 141. I was at like 138 point something, so roughly 3 pounds lost. And like, yes, that's really not surprising. It could just be another, natural fluctuation, but it really wouldn't have surprised me if I did lose weight doing this, because I was eating anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 calories most days. And I probably discussed at this point, there is that whole thing about FGF21, raising your metabolism. Maybe that could have been part of it. It was only a week, so I feel like the effect of that probably would have been pretty small. Math still works. If I lost weight, it was because I was in a calorie deficit. Maybe it was a slightly larger deficit than it would have been if I hadn't been eating just sugar. You probably won't feel good doing this, especially if you're also incorporating a lot of added sugar, processed refined sugar. If you're just doing fruit, I still feel like you probably wouldn't feel very good. I think possibly the most surprising thing about this, though, is that eating so much sugar didn't really diminish my sugar cravings. I mean, I never really crave like gummy candy anyway. It just really made me want like fatty sweets more. I think it's possible if I'd gone longer than a week, I would have, surpassed those cravings, but why would I want to do that is the real question. At the end of all of this, I think my conclusions are pretty clear and probably pretty expected. Humans continue to be omnivores and continue to need a balanced diet. I do think some people need to tailor their diets a little differently for various conditions, like obviously diabetes or allergies or intolerances. Diets are not one size fits all, and I think that's the biggest problem with these extreme fad diets. It's one thing to experience some benefit from these diets, though it's arguable where the benefit is coming from, but it's another thing entirely to make sweeping statements about how this particular diet is the proper one for all humans. And as you probably already noticed, high-carb proponents like Dr. Kepner and Dr. McDougall and carnivores like Dr. Ken Berry and Sean Baker are able to make these sweeping claims and seemingly have the same amount of opposing evidence. But when you look into their evidence, it becomes pretty clear that they've cherry-picked or misrepresented the data. And when it comes to influencers, sure, they love to be able to point to someone with MD after their name to make various health claims, but in my opinion, it's very apparent what their real motivation is.
But I'm still losing weight doing that, and that's ultimately what matters.
As for Wendy and Harry, like I mentioned, they've already stopped doing their sugar diet in favor of going back to the old faithful keto. I'd still be concerned for Harry's triglycerides on a high-fat diet, but according to them, they've already gone down from extremely high to just sort of high. I also think it's funny that they responded to the haters in their comments who seemingly felt very betrayed that Wendy and Harry abandoned keto for a short time, but they made it clear that the sugar diet was only a temporary jumpstart for weight loss, of course.
To see if it's real.
It doesn't matter to me what the outside forces are saying in the ketogenic sphere right now. This has to do with Harry and my own personal beliefs, own personal health, and we're working side by side with a physician. But we can all agree to disagree too and stay friends.
Yeah, aren't you really curious to know whether this works or not?
Yeah, aren't you really? We did this so you don't have to. Hey, keto folks, we did this so you don't have to. Hey, carnivores, we did this so you don't have to. Remember, folks, be kind to one another. This is only a 40-day challenge.
Calories are a unit of measure. There have been and always will be fad diets, but I do think it's telling and kind of encouraging that the sugar diet seems to be dying an even swifter internet death than keto and carnivore. For example, in the amount of time it took me to make this video, Barbara Unfiltered has already dropped the sugar diet in favor of something that seems maybe more like the rice diet or the starch solution.
There has been some drama on YouTube in the sugar community because the sugar diet died, according to Cole and according to many. And actually, I could really say that I'm not doing pure sugar anymore already. I'm not going to be sugar fasting and just like having a piece of fruit at dinner or like a bag of candy. Like, I'm not doing that. Besides, I'm sick of it. And besides, I stopped seeing the dramatic results. And I just want to maintain now. And I want to, not maintain, I want to keep losing, but I want to lose weight in a sustainable way. And I've been looking into the rice diet by Walter Kempner.
I don't advocate for either of those diets, clearly, but I would take a diet comprised mostly of rice and vegetables as a step in the right direction away from literally pure sugar. Even Cole Robinson, who so forcefully advocated for the sugar diet, has now shifted gears into promoting, quite literally, a 90s style low-fat diet. Apparently now, a 90s low-fat diet is what gets you ripped and shredded and annihilated.
The sugar diet is dead. It has become a low-fat diet, which it was from the beginning.
At first I thought by covering this, I was just drawing attention to something dangerous unnecessarily, since it seemingly faded in popularity as fast as it popped up. But that being said, there are absolutely still people still sticking with the sugar diet. And on top of the dangers of the diet itself, I also wanted to point out the danger and hypocrisy of diet influencers like Cole Robinson and Mark Bell. I really truly believe that they're using not only their platforms, but their physiques to sell you these diets. Sure, watching their internet videos is free, but generating publicity and viewership gets them a lot of AdSense. Not to mention, both of them do indeed sell things. If you visit Mark Bell's Instagram, you'll find a link in his bio leading you to, fascinatingly enough, his business where he sells protein supplements, electrolytes, and steak seasoning, amongst other very carnivore-coded things. You see, Mark Bell used to be a carnivore. There is still a carnivore highlight from 2021 on his Instagram. It's unclear at this point if he's selling anything related to the sugar diet, but he clearly has been promoting it on YouTube and podcasts and other social media. Cole Robinson is even more of a diet flip-flopper. He actually got popular promoting something called the snake diet, and even though that's still the name of his Instagram and YouTube, it's not a low-fat diet. The snake diet is interesting because it's less of a diet and more of a form of extreme fasting. Cole Robinson advises, or used to advise, I'm unclear about where he stands now, but the snake diet advises that, much like a snake, you, as a human being who is not a snake, should eat like 1 or 2 big meals a week. Of course, Cole Robinson also advises drinking a lot of salt water in a particular formulation he calls snake juice, which you can buy on his website. I also find it fascinating that Cole constantly posts before and after pictures of himself, but he credits whatever diet he's currently into as the reason he's so shredded now. Like, I don't know if he's just using old pictures or if he's really just fluctuating a lot, but take all of that with a grain of snake juice. All right, folks. Well, thank you for sticking with me while I continue to torture myself with fad diets. Though, full disclosure, I think I'm going to try to be easy on my guts for a while before or if I ever do another one of these diets. I really appreciate you for being here, and let me know if you've ever even heard about the sugar diet before. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy my content, and I will see you next time.
This sugar diet and sugar fasting has been to lose the last 10 pounds that I was carrying even before I got pregnant. My body is fighting it. And here's why I think my body is fighting it. Because I don't need to lose more weight. I need to build muscle in order to get the physique that I had and that I want. So sugar fasting is not going to get me there. But right now, I feel very, very drawn to high protein, high carbohydrate, low fat.
And yes, Cole Robinson has been talking about this